Hello guys, welcome again. We're here for another installment of our journey around the world. We're here in Cairo, that's where we left off last time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am still working on the audio levels a little bit, but let's see how this goes. Now, let's try and remember where we were. We're on day 16, and let's try and plan a little bit. So here we are in Cairo, which is here. We need to go, where do we want to go? Do we want to go south? Do we want to go over there? I think we'll try and go south and we'll see where that gets us, because I haven't been south before. So this goes tomorrow. The Nile Express goes for Luxor tomorrow at 11, so I think we shall spend the night here. Cairo is attempting to modernize, following the Parisian model. I cannot understand how so many people believe they can put up avenues of trees and declare themselves French. The result is a mishmash of European and the Arab. Of course, the people do not care, and most certainly do not dress like Parisians. I was browsing the souk when I felt a hand dip into my pocket. I turned around fast, but the little girl whose hand was in my pocket was clearly well practiced and slid between my knees to run away. I was 30 pounds poorer. Great, so we lost some money. Right, so let's depart before we lose any more money. Let's go all the way down to Aswan, actually, on the Nile Express. The train from Cairo to Luxor was well appointed, comfortable and packed with holidaymakers and tourists, all headed to see the tombs and take slow cruises up the Nile. I asked one why they did not take the boat down, but the answer was the Nile's strong current, which made northward travel far easier and more enjoyable than the difficult journey south. Let's wait. Aswan tackling telegraph lines. So it looks like we're going to have a bit of an adventure when we get to Aswan. Before sundown, the train pulled into Luxor. We waited as several tourists disembarked, and then we rolled on to the river city of Aswan. So we'll have to sleep, and then we'll explore in the morning. Aswan was once the ancient city of Swenet. Its name derived from that of an Egyptian goddess whose statue now roams the streets of the city at night, its eyes two bright gas fires. I speculated that it existed to enforce the curfew demanded by this town's Ottoman rulers. Egypt had always been a troublesome province for the Sublime Porte to administer, but it was a bastion of calm compared to the rebellious nation of Sudan just to the south. This town is directly on the Tropic of Cancer, Monsieur Fogg remarked. Is that so? Indeed it is. Therefore it follows that on the summer solstice a stick planted in the ground at noon will cast no shadow. But we are nowhere near the solstice. Irrelevant, he replied. Our present circumstances have no bearing upon the truth of my statement. I confess myself confounded. I have never heard him express so much emotion. Let's go exploring in Aswan. Okay, excellent. Got a route there. I spent a few hours in exploration, learning ways in which we might travel onwards. So, when does that train? The Nubia. Departs in 3 days. 3 whole days. Well, haven't got much of a choice, so let's go to the hotel. We took a room and settled in, and I spent a few hours polishing shoes in the lobby, earning £81. Excellent. Recovered our theft loss. So we stay at the hotel again. With the last light of the evening, I went to stretch my legs and spoke to a charming Italian seamstress. who had lost a monocle, which I helped to recover, and who then, between fits of cursing, mentioned that the fastest way to Bombay is through Wadi Halfa. I asked her how she knew, and she launched into a long and complicated story about her mother's employer's favourite holiday destination, a convoluted tale and one better forgotten. Excellent. Okay. As night fell, I went out to explore a little and managed to have my pocket picked to the tune of £24. Excellent. Well, let's depart for Wadi Halfa. Go! We boarded the steamer downriver in the company of tourists from all over the world. My master looked most suspicious, I thought. What is the problem, monsieur? I asked. I cannot help feeling this boat will most likely be slow, he replied, to forward these good ladies and gentlemen their view. I tried to reassure him as best I could, but it was too late to change our course. The paddle had begun to turn. Let's converse. Greetings, mademoiselle. Is the view not truly marvellous, Passepartout? According to my timetable, Wadi Halfa is connected to Khartoum. On the subject of trains, I've heard one can travel aboard the Canadian Pacific Railway from Calgary to Regina. How you know this, why you giving me this advice in Africa, I have no idea. I want to ask about that, but anyway, Khartoum to Brisbane. Have you heard that you could buy harmonics in Brisbane? Extremely valuable in Port-au-Prince. Excellent. I want to go somewhere from Khartoum. Is it possible to go from Khartoum to Ujiji? Yes, I knew a man who always wanted to take the Shabameli Jelani from Khartoum to Ujiji. Excellent, so we've got some new routes. Man, that's going to take us a long time. Lord knows how I'm going to get around the world, but... The paddle steamer made its slow way down the river, past incredible temples on either side. Temples cut into the rock walls, carved with statues of gigantic seated figures. Their faces seemed as serene as my master's, staring into the middle distance across this great canal, made by the same builders as those who cut the temples into the stone. I occupied myself talking to other passengers, hoping to gather information for our next journey. I met a cheerful Egyptian gentleman and had a pleasant, if unproductive, conversation that whiled the hours away. I closed in, and soon all we could see were the stone eyes gazing across the waters. They glowed with inner gaslights. Clearly the artificers had been here, as everywhere else. Okay, so... before going to bed, I went out to explore a little and took full advantage of some distance from Monsieur Fogg. When I returned, I felt a much finer fettle. Let's go exploring. I met a few children on the streets of Wadi Halfa, desperate to show me something, but without the words to tell me what it was. They seemed cheerful souls, so I went with them on a long and winding route between mud houses until we approached a low building with wires coming in and out. It was the telegraph office. I was taken by the idea of writing home, so I went inside, accompanied by one of the children. The telegraph clerk greeted me from behind her desk with a cheerful wave. "Welcome, welcome. We have the first telegraph to Egypt in Africa. Would you like to send a message?" The little girl at my side began tapping my leg in an imitation of Morse code. I dictated a message to my man. The clerk wrote it down without making me blush, for which I was grateful. The child watched the process with some fascination. "Would you like to send a message as well?" I asked her, lifting her up onto the counter. The girl nodded. The clerk frowned. "These children can't afford..." I put a couple of notes on the counter and the clerk shrugged and looked at the little girl. "Well, little miss, what's your message?" It sounded slightly Russian. The girl began to tap the desk and the clerk laughed. "You have to speak your message," I told the girl. pointing at my mouth, but she continued just tapping. The clerk smiled at me, and then we ushered the girl out. Of course, all the other children wanted to play. I took them in one by one, and until the clerk grew tired of the game. Please stop bringing these children in, she sighed. They will keep writing the same message. What message? I asked, intrigued. It's 2 words. The clerk began, tapping out a pattern on the counter. Lundi, that's the capital of the Zulu Federation, but the second I don't recognize. I may, I told her. I am quite well travelled. She smiled. Well, it's Passepartout. She shook her head. Can't be a real word. They must have invented it. I stood rigid with shock, as you might well imagine. Lundi Passepartout. Where had the children heard such a message? I ran outside, demanding to know, but they did not understand my words or even seem to recognize the name Passepartout. They simply kept tapping their fingers in that same rhythmic pattern as though possessed. I returned to Monsieur Fogg, somewhat rattled. Okay, so there's a plan. We need to... we'll stay one more day. It's okay. Now you can rush the trips if you want, but I always find that a little bit of a pain to do, and it costs a lot of money. We made ourselves comfortable for the night, and I ran a few errands for the hotelier, earning £103 in fees and tips, as well as learning from him that collectors in Hyel will pay very well indeed for bolts of pure silk from Jeddah. Most intriguing. Excellent. Okay, let's depart. Go on here. Go. The train left Wadi Halfa station as the sun disappeared into the ground and the stars threw themselves across the sky overhead. For a moment the endless dusty plain seemed to seep into my very soul, and perhaps I felt that I was moving into an ancient land, a landscape of endless distance. It felt as though I was coming home, and I turned to Monsieur Fogg and see if he was thinking the same thing. Perhaps so. Certainly his dark eyes were lost in the middle distance. African airships will dominate skies. Well, there we go. I spent the first day in conversation, trying to find options for our next journey. I fell in with a nervous Boer youth and had a pleasant, if unproductive, conversation that whiled the hours away. The sun lowered over the dusty plains to the west of the tracks, and Monsieur Fogg stretched out his legs and tipped his hat over his eyes. We were content for now, at least. Oops. Missed it there, trying to get a drink of water. We awoke with the train still rattling along, making its own slow way down the tracks. I'm not sure I would describe this as a train, Monsieur Fogg remarked coolly. I suggested trying to speed it up, but my master shook his head sharply. We will arrive shortly, he replied, and left his explanation at that. Okay, so stay at the hotel. Khartoum had been conquered by the Ottoman Empire and their Egyptian subjects over half a century ago, but it chafed visibly under the imperial yoke. I found one such malcontent and asked her about the city, but she hurried quickly away, perhaps believing me to be an agent of the authorities. Quite a mistake to make with me in my valet's attire. I was hot and irritable and took care to hide the fact from my master, though I do not believe I was entirely successful. He forbore to remark upon my irritability, but otherwise we passed a quiet evening in the northern Sudanese city. Excellent. So let's wait for the market to open just in case there's something nice here. And almost. There we go. So, sheet of mirror glass. I'm not sure that's going to be very helpful to us. I mean, we can get rid of this. We don't need that. Let's just take it anyway. Why not? You never know when it could come in handy. So let's go exploring in Khartoum. Here we go. So we can go all the way over to Jeddah. We can go to Ardennes straight away. I walked the streets a while, discovering the possibilities for how we might make progress. So let's have a plan. Okay, do we want to keep going south? If we keep going south, I fear we're gonna run into problems. Now, Ulundi is down there, Bloemfontein is there, Bai is there. Can we go the Arctic? No. Can't go there. There is that there. Gonna end up in Batavia, Singapore. 240, 220, 95. So I wonder if we should start going this way and go the other way around, or whether we should go to the Middle East. Okay, so that departs in 2 days. That departs tomorrow. Well, I kind of have been to the Middle East quite a lot. So I'll tell you what, I'll go south. So that departs tomorrow. We'll stay over in a hotel and then we can go south. Because I've always been to the Middle East and that kind of area, so go with somewhere different. With what remained of the day, I helped the kitchen staff to clean, earning £76. Awesome. Okay, so now we can depart. Let's go down to Stone Town, I think. Okay, here we go. We travelled to Stone Town on a sturdy Ottoman Gayik transport airship, fitted out as a diplomatic courier. Okay, let's wait. Stone Town threatened by piracy increase. Excellent, so I picked the right one. We're now going to visit pirates. That's just what we want, really, isn't it? Oh well. I spent my time in conversation with a British clerk who had been transferred from his post in Istanbul to the consulate at Stone Town. Will you miss Istanbul? His expression clouded. I think I will attempt not to miss it very devoutly and hope I am successful. Ah, I said. Woman, how did you know? Clerk demanded suspiciously. I was accused of an improper dalliance with a Turkish noblewoman. Did the accusation have merit? I asked bluntly. The clerk turned his face away, which was as good as an answer. I regret nothing, except, he sighed, I did not realise that hers was the greater risk. Though she tried to warn me, I suppose I was a fool. Love makes fools of us all. I leaned upon the railing and looked out over the coastline. True enough, the clerk agreed. As we approached the cardamom-strewn island of Zanzibar, rising lush and green off the African coast. I'm going to try and give each of these guys different accents. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so the market, what do we got here? It's worth £1,000 in Bangalore. Okay. So you see, we'll go down to Bloemfontein, that'll be good. But we're not going to need the Russian timetable. Yes! Buy me the expensive things. Okay, so we'll go in the hotel. Stone Town is the capital of the Omani Sultanate of Zanzibar. Though outwardly the Omanis rule, they are essentially British vassals. The British Navy patrols the island and the Zanj coast beyond. The island's air is thick with spice from the cardamom plantations that sprawl over the hills outside the settlement, studded with starburst white flowers. Monsieur Fogg, possessed of an Englishman's appreciation of spice, is suffering greatly. I procured him a scented cloth to press to his nose, and it was of no little relief to him. At dinner I confronted Monsieur Fogg with a disturbing observation. I had seen many slaves attending the Omani rulers and working the sweet-smelling plantations, all under the very noses of the British representatives. Why do the British permit this? I shook my head. Her Majesty exerted influence over the Omanis to suppress the international trade, my master explained. This is an internal matter. We have a mandate only against international slavery. And we still buy their slave-grown spices while mouthing our abolitionism. Abolitionism, yes. I could not keep the bitterness from my tone. So that is how it is. For what the natives of the island of Zanzibar think, I have little to report. They reveal little to me and treat Monsieur Fogg and myself with the same deference as their Arab masters. Okay, so let's go exploring. Okay, so we go to Nisenga, or we can go south. That's where I want to go. Let's go down to Quelimane. Only one small thing to note. In walking the streets, I caught a glimpse of the clerk from the airship. He appeared to dash inside a building with an extremely young local girl. I let it go, telling myself, Passepartout, you cannot save everyone, least of all from themselves. Okay, let's depart. Oh, we're going to Nisenga. I don't really want to do that though. Let's go down to Quelimane, or Quelimane. That departs tomorrow. Excellent, so we can go another night in the hotel. As night fell, Monsieur Fogg is full of health. I engaged another guest in conversation to learn what I could, but obtained nothing but tips for starching the pells. Let's go to Quelimane. Alright. Captain Douala of the airship that bore us from Stone Town to Quelimane was a scarred, older Bantu woman, dressed in Omani style. I was born a slave, she told us abruptly. If you do not wish to introduce yourselves to me, I will not be offended. I have no disrespect for slaves. I bow my head just as I would to any other person. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Her dark eyes regarded me with faint approval. And I am pleased to make yours, which is a greater surprise. Most of my passengers have no conception of manners. I was well taught by my mother, I said honestly. Captain Douala's lips aligned into a small, powerful smile. She taught you well. I admit I felt a great pleasure at her words, of Miss dear Maman all the more. Now let's converse. Greetings, Captain. You are enjoying the ride, I trust? What can you tell me of Quelimane? I hear that Quelimane is the only border crossing into the Zulu Federation. Okay, get me into Association. I don't think so. What about that? Okay, right, fine. The captain gave us nothing. As the sun dipped below the ocean-hazed horizon, we reached the port of Quelimane, which clutched the coast in a sprawl of pale municipal buildings and villas built in the Portuguese style. Okay, what do we got here in the market? Nothing sells that well, so whiskey, no, don't care, don't care, don't care. Will we go to Colombo? Will we? Probably not. We'll leave that there. Okay, so let's go in the hotel and we'll see what adventures we get up to. The chattering insects mingled with the smell of the sea. I was a long way from home and yet I felt most content. Let's go explore. Okay. Excellent, I can go straight to Bloemfontein. Okay. Quelimane was the only official point of entry into the Zulu Federation, which spanned most of South Africa. Not only that, but it was also these days called the African Amsterdam, a nexus for the trade in diamonds which brought unprecedented wealth into the Zulu Federation. 2 young tea plantation workers passed by and then decided to greet the half-Arab girl with a mop of curls. She ignored me with the dignity and grandeur of a duchess. I mimed being wounded and collapsing, throwing my hand to my brow in a poetic fashion. Mademoiselle, your disregard cuts me to the quick. Her companion seemed to take pity on me. Razia, let's hear him out, she said in a blur-voweled English before addressing me. I'm Reshmi, sir. They beckoned me into a nearby tea shop, and I set upon them with questions about Quelimane itself. Razia told me that the Portuguese had built the town as a slave port, but Emperor Cetshwayo had banned the taking of slaves when he had come to power, and enforced compliance with terrible penalties. They say Cetshwayo's a sorcerer, Reshmi said. He can control automata with his mind. That sounds fanciful, I said gently. Razia snorted inelegantly. Who has been telling you such silly stories, Reshi? They're not just stories. The Zulu impi who's courting my auntie said so. Men will say many things to impress a lady, I said carefully. Not all of them true. And isn't that the truth? Oh, and isn't that the truth? Razia muttered, no doubt amazed to have found any point of agreement with me. Reshmi tossed her head. Neither of you believe me, but that is what he told me, and he would know. I thanked them both for their help with great courtesy before I returned to Monsieur Fogg. I'm convinced that I had truly learned anything of value about the sprawling Zulu Federation, upon whose borders we now stood.